multiple allegations came out. A story with multiple allegations came out about the culture surrounding Jerry Richardson and the Carolina Panthers as it pertains to multiple things, really, right? That there is allegations of a racial slur being used by Jerry Richardson. There are allegations of sexual harassment, including a jean day in which Jerry Richardson would have female employees of the Panthers wear jeans so that he could ogle them. I imagine creepily, because I don't know how it is that you do that anyway, but creepily. And so he's having to sell the team. And I don't feel like Jerry Richardson wants to sell the team. I feel like the only two positions there to take were sell the team or apologize. And Jerry Richardson is a really, really rich, powerful guy. And what I have seen from really, really rich, powerful guys is that they tend to not like to apologize. They tend to not to like to do that if they don't have to. Like, if you don't show up and make them, nah, they don't want to do that, right? And Jerry Richardson does. I think that he doesn't want to make a bigger stink of this than what is actually being made. Now, here's the thing, because we tend to do this only in one dimension. We tend to do this only in one dimension, which is that we treat people who do bad things as though you've done a bad thing. Now you are officially a bad person. Trademark. Right? Like, we only do this after we found out you've done something terrible. And so, yeah, they shoved a microphone in Cam Newton's face because Cam Newton, possibly the worst person to ask about any of this stuff. Any situation that somehow demands care and nuance and what have you. I mean, Cam's not the guy to ask. Okay, I think we could all agree on that. Cam is not the guy. And Cam, directly after a football game, which is when they asked all of these questions, because the story broke right before the game started, right? And I don't really read a whole lot of articles while the games are happening, so I missed it, right? I actually came in on Monday, and Sam Jordan, who hosts Sports Talk with Sam Jordan, before me, he came in and said, "Hey, you hear about Jerry Richardson?" I went, "What? No." He said, "No, he's selling the team." So, yeah, I had to look into that and make sure that I knew what I was talking about before I spoke out of my, let's say, ignorance. Let's say ignorance. That's a word. So, having read up on it, I think that there's something to note here, because Cam Newton started talking about how Jerry Richardson meant a whole lot to him as an owner and as a person, and how Jerry Richardson helped him to become a professional, because that was actually one of the knocks on Cam when Cam came into the NFL, is that Cam was very immature. And you could make the strong argument, by the way, that like Cam's still very immature, but you also could make the very strong argument that Cam Newton is a much more mature person now than when he first came into the league, right? And so Cam is crediting Jerry Richardson with all of this. And here's the thing, that when you do something in which you have victims necessarily here to hear about how the guy was really deep down inside a good guy. That's not, people are not here for that. Nobody wants to hear about how this guy did all of these monstrous things, and you should also acknowledge that he's a good person. But Cam is just talking about what Jerry Richardson was to him personally. And I think that there's a reason. I think that we need to do this in multiple dimensions, and we're not doing it in multiple dimensions. And I noticed that since we've started this, that we've only been doing this in a one-dimensional kind of way. And maybe this is just not the good, clean, politically correct way of saying this, but I will say it because I think that this is something worth thinking about, which is this. We have given voice to victims, and I think that that's important. Victims deserve to have a voice. But I think that we have given a voice to the victims to the point where we silence everybody else. Right? And I don't think that that's particularly helpful either. I think that that's such a gigantic swing in the opposite direction. And I think that it's wrong. Right? Like, now maybe we don't need to hear necessarily like Jerry Richardson's side of the thing, because I mean, what he was doing was clearly sexual harassment, and what he was doing was clearly wrong. And anytime you use a racial slur, I can't think of any particularly good reasons to use a racial slur. So just never use those. But he did against the scout on his own he employed. And so, yeah, I'm looking at it and I go, yeah, that's none of those things are good. But if Cam Newton is saying my experience with Jerry Richardson has really been nothing but a positive experience, I think that bears something in mind, right? And you've seen it even with all of the allegations in Hollywood with Ben Affleck. I actually haven't heard anybody come forward to say even one good thing about Harvey Weinstein. But like people have come forward to say good things about some of the accused people, right? And I think that those things are also valid to listen to too, not to detract from the monstrous things that some of these guys have done as an abuse of their positions of power, but simply to note that there are multiple dimensions to a person, that Louis C.K. also did something, right? Like he exposed himself to a couple of female comedians, but you have Sarah Silverman coming out and saying, but he's my friend, that he can be both. It's possible for him to be both. And it's possible for Jerry Richardson to do something that should be enough cause for him to no longer own an NFL team and at the same time be a mentor to somebody like Cam Newton. Now, yeah, it's easier for Cam Newton to say nice things about Jerry Richardson. That's his boss. You know, your boss you tend to want to say things nicely about your boss if you actually like your boss, right? So I guess, it says something about Jerry Richardson that, you know, Cam Newton didn't just stand up there and go, good riddance, right? So, no, I'm not saying that Jerry Richardson necessarily deserves sympathy, right? What he did was wrong. Not defending him. You know, if the league feels like they can't have a guy like that owning an NFL team, and they're able to get him out the paint, I'm okay with it. I really am. But I think that there's a certain level of, we hear the stories of the victims, and our first thought is, let's go out for retribution, right? Like, let's go out for blood. And I think that when anybody says something along the lines of, hey, there's multiple sides to this, there are multiple ways to look at this, why would someone behave in that way? Besides that they're just a monster, because the world is not that black and white. No one is that one-dimensional. Nobody's that one-dimensional. Why would he behave this way? Why would he think it's fine? Is it a generational thing? Like, if you just go out for blood, you don't learn anything. And we don't learn anything about how to fix it when it's just like, nah, he's wrong. Get him out of here. Get him out. I disagree with that state of thinking. Right? I don't have a problem with them getting him out, but those are the things to consider there. Those are the things to consider. Now, that's just me on that particular issue, because to me, it's not confusing. I just think that we run the risk of silencing everybody else when we only listen to victims, right? We can't go from not listening to victims at all to only listening to victims. The whole reason why all of this stuff was able to happen is because someone was silenced. And I don't think that we get to continue just silencing people, right? I think Matt Damon the other day had some controversial remarks where he said that all of these things are wrong, but can we not act like sexual harassment is on the same scale, on the same field as like pedophilia and rape, which I think is a valid point that's worth thinking about. And all of the actresses in Hollywood came after Matt Damon. I mean, they came after him. And I thought that was a little odd, because I didn't think that what he said was wrong. And it's not like he said sexual harassment was okay either. But Matt Damon can't even have that opinion because we are so caught up in victimhood that he can't even hold that opinion. An opinion that I don't think prior to all of this stuff happening would have been a controversial opinion, because it's not controversial at all. It's not. I would think it's obvious that rape and pedophilia are obviously worse. Like, there are crimes that are worse than other crimes, right? And we know this because some crimes warrant a capital punishment and some don't, right? You don't talk about the death penalty for theft. So we already have a scale in mind We may not all agree on the scale, but we all have a scale in mind as to how this stuff works. Look, Cam Newton standing there and he's saying, hey, I think that Jerry Richardson has meant a lot to me. And Cam was trying to talk around the issue as much as he could, man. He was trying to talk around that issue as much as he possibly could, and they just weren't going to let him do it. And also, he's Cam, and he never met a question that he never tried to answer, even though, as I mentioned before, he's not the guy. Cam Newton is not the one to be out here answering your complicated questions about whether or not Jerry Richardson deserves to be the owner of an NFL team. Not him. I like Cam. Trust me. Like, nobody has more appreciation for Cam Newton and what he does in the NFL than me. I'm just saying, Cam Newton's not that dude. You're listening to All New Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. Thank you for listening today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm going to jump back to college football because I'm thinking about Alabama. You know this. Like, I go back, I watch tape because I'm a nerd, okay? This is what I do. I go back and I watch Alabama, and I go, well, Alabama's been missing a lot of linebackers this year, so that's been a big problem for them. But I think that Alabama should be worried, despite the fact that they're going to be returning a lot of this talent from injury, because of Kelly Bryant. And the more that I've gone back to watch Kelly Bryant, the more that I have been impressed by this guy. Kelly Bryant is not Deshaun Watson, right? And I think that you make that mistake at your own peril. But I think that Kelly Bryant has the potential to be better than Deshaun Watson. It's possible. He's got the capability. He can be better than Deshaun, right? And I've already seen a number of Alabama players come forward and say, Kelly Bryant is faster than Deshaun. So we already have that, right? And then Deshaun Watson and Kelly Bryant have a lot of similarities. They're both dual threat guys. They're both capable passers. They're both capable runners. Because I think that there's some dual threat guys, they tend to do one better than the other. Usually running. But I think that Kelly Bryant and Deshaun Watson are two of the more balanced dual threat quarterbacks that we've ever seen. And I think that Kelly Bryant can learn to and has the potential to be better than Deshaun Watson. Now, whether or not he achieves anything close to that in this upcoming bowl game is not up to me, right? Like, I don't know. We'll have to find out. But here's some things that I know about Kelly Bryant. I know, because Alabama defensive players have watched the tape and they've said so, that Kelly Bryant is faster than Deshaun. I know, based on the numbers, that Kelly Bryant is less prone to turnovers, right? He fumbles less and he throws less picks. And I know that Kelly Bryant is every bit as accurate as Deshaun Watson. You look at Deshaun Watson's 2015 season, he completed 67.8% of his passes. When you look at his 2016 season, he completed 67% of his passes. Kelly Bryant this year has completed 67.4% of his passes. So while he's thrown for less yards, he's turned over the ball less. He's thrown fewer picks. His quarterback rating is high. It's not as high, but it is high. He's played in 2 fewer games so far. Right? They don't rely on him as much as I think Clemson did a year ago for Deshaun Watson, or even the year before for Deshaun Watson. But when you consider that we were considering Kelly Bryant for a Davey O'Brien Award and for a Manning Award, like, this guy can play. And if you're Alabama and you've seen yourself get smoked by Jarrett Stidham, imagine what Kelly Bryant can do to you. Because I do think that Kelly Bryant is a better quarterback than Jarrett Stidham, if not for the reason that Kelly Bryant gives you that added dimension of mobility and speed while being incredibly accurate, while not being the guy that turns the ball over. Yes, I think he's a better runner than he is a thrower because the volume of his passes is low. But they're big play passes. But Clemson has become a big play team backed up by a powerful defense. Right? And I think that if you're Alabama, you have to worry. And I think that there's a prevailing idea out there that if this game is a low-scoring game, that's the game that Alabama wants. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. If there is a low-scoring game, you have to now choose between Kelly Bryant and Jalen Hurts being the X factors for their respective teams. And I like Jalen Hurts a lot. I don't think that against the defense of this caliber, right? Because I think Kelly Bryant going up against an Alabama caliber defense is capable of making plays. And I saw him do it against Auburn. It was a low-scoring game. But Auburn's defense was able to get their hands on Jarrett Stidham multiple times. I believe they sacked him 9 times in that game. So some absurd number. They got all over him. Jarrett Stidham was wearing Clemson's defense like a jersey. Like it was his own jersey. He was covered in orange. And Jalen Hurts is much more mobile, but he's not the passer that Jarrett Stidham is, and he's not the passer that Kelly Bryant is. And I think that hampers him. And I think that if anything has been done, this is the disservice that Alabama has done to Jalen Hurts, which is that they haven't developed him really as a passer. Right? And I was actually excited to see Jalen Hurts under Steve Sarkisian, Jalen Hurts under Lane Kiffin. I actually wish that Lane Kiffin in Alabama would have worked out because I wanted to see what kind of passer, what kind of quarterback Jalen Hurts could become when asked to reasonably balance and reasonably carry an offense with his arm. I think he's capable of it. I do. And there's a reason why we think that he's going to be in the Heisman Trophy mix next year. And that's because he is capable. Like you look at his body of work, he is very capable. And he can make the leap. I don't know if he will. I'm not sure if he will. But he has that kind of ability. Right? And you look no further than Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is a guy that he had to make an incredible leap from last year to this year to be the Heisman Trophy winner. But he did it. So it's possible. It is possible. But if you put Jalen Hurts and Kelly Bryant head to head, to me right now, I find that Kelly Bryant is the superior athlete. I do think that Kelly Bryant is the faster player. I think that Kelly Bryant is the more accurate passer. I think that Kelly Bryant is the less turnover-prone player. I think he's the bigger playmaker in the passing game. I think Jalen Hurts is actually probably the bigger playmaker with his legs, despite not being as fast. Because Alabama's offense lends itself to him running around in that kind of way. But I just don't think that you ask a guy to be a running quarterback and then ask him to suddenly be a thrower of the football if you need him to bail you out. And Clemson has asked Kelly Bryant to do that all year, right? They haven't asked him to do that on as high a volume that they have asked Deshaun Watson previously to do, but they have asked him to do that throughout the year. And he has stood up and he has met the challenge. He's been able to answer the bell. They asked him to throw the ball against Miami because Miami's got a very good run defense. And Kelly Bryant threw the ball against Miami, and he smoked him. Right? 38-7. Just walked through that team. Making big plays with his arm. Miami had no answers. And if you're looking for a test of discipline, this is it. Clemson tests your discipline. And you're Alabama, and you've got a number of players coming back from injury, number of linebackers coming back from injury, and you hope that they're all sharp and ready to go. I think that they will be. I just find it difficult to believe that you're going to give Nick Saban that amount of time and expect him to not have figured out something. That pretty much flies in the face of conventional logic if you've ever watched Alabama play. But I think if you're Alabama, you have actual reason and you have actual cause to worry about Kelly Bryant. I think you do. You should lose a little sleep over it if you're a Crimson Tide fan. You're listening to all new Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com, 92.7 FM. Make sure to check us out on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. And remember, folks, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 24 hours.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. 3, 2, 1. Chattanooga.